Good day. My name is Rupwa Sitako and I will be explaining the part 2 for my POE. So we will begin in the main window class. So the main window is responsible for the user interface of the chatbot, and it contains like everything that the user can visually see and interact with on the screen. So it is divided into 3 sections, 3 grids, which is the home grid, the username grid, and the chat grid. And the home grid will act as the landing page for the chatbots, and it will display the chatbot logo, a welcome message, and the button for the user to proceed to launch the application. Okay. Yes. And then the username grid will allow the user to enter their username before accessing the chatbot, and it will prohibit them from accessing the chatbots if they do not enter a valid username. And then we will have the chat grid. This is responsible for containing all the messages and displaying them on the screen. Okay, now we are on the C# part of the main window class. So this is the part that controls the functionality of the interface, the user interface. So it'll manage all the interactions and the logic behind the application. So it'll handle the button clicks, the navigation, the communication, message displays, and just the interaction between the interface and the back end of the chatbot. So when the application starts, it will initialize the chatbot by loading the responses and then loading the ignored words. And this class will control the movements between the screens by changing the visibility for the grid. For example, when the user will enter the landing page, when they click the Get Started button, the username screen will then appear, while it will become visible, while the home screen becomes hidden. Now we are in the AI handler class. So I'd say this class is like the processing function of the chatbot. So it used to analyze the user's inputs, identify important keywords, match responses, detect the interest, and generates the chatbot's replies. So the chatbot works by identifying the keywords in the sentence and then matching them with the appropriate answer. So this method is responsible for splitting the user's inputs and then ignoring common words or filler words such as is and there, and then it will focus on the important keywords. So should the keywords be found, the chatbot will select the appropriate answer, and if not, it will display a fallback message or response such as didn't quite understand that, and so on. So this is the respond class, and this is where the chatbot's knowledge, responses and ignored words, will be stored. And when the the ignored words list will contain obviously the filler words that are not useful for identifying what the user is actually asking for. So these would improve the chatbot's accuracy because it will only focus on what the user is asking for, and it is also contains the chatbot's knowledge, so the answers which are grouped in topics such as cybersecurity, phishing, passwords, whatever, and it will always also contain the sentiment detection. So it will answer sentiment related responses such as sadness, stress, frustration. So it will detect the emotion and answer accordingly. Now this is the username class, and it is responsible for managing like the usernames in the chatbots, and its purpose is to register users and to check whether the user already exists in the text file. So if the user's name is not found in the text file, it'll display a welcome message, and if the username is already stored, it will recognize them as a returning user and then send them a welcome back message. So the class also contains the method for displaying like the style messages inside the chat like window, and it creates like the chat bubbles, and it's also responsible for changing the colors and so that the interface is like user friendly. Last but not least, we have the voice greeting class, and this class is responsible for playing the audio greeting when the application starts, and this is used to like enhance the user's experience by making the chatbot like feel more interactive and welcoming, and it does that by locating the greet wave file and then playing the audio when the app launches. Thank you, bye.